Man. I knew that this was going to get messy. I knew it. I knew this was going to get messy. What's going on, y'all? You ready to advocate in here, the all new radioonfire.com. And so, in the morning, we talk about politics. Now, in the evening, we talk about music and entertainment. And, the Joe Budden Podcast, I enjoy the show, and many of you enjoy the show as well. So Joe Budden has his podcast and has had it for quite some time. It's on episode 400 something like that. Anyway, he's gone through a host of co-hosts, right? He's changed his lineup several times. All right, let me not go too far. Several times. And this latest blow up comes with the most successful lineup that he's had thus far. Rory and Mal. So he fired them. It wasn't totally clear that he fired Mal until the end of his most recent episode, but he fired Rory, fired Mal. Did it on a show that they were not on. They were not actually on the show, right? I guess they didn't show up to work. So he was talking greasy. Parks talking greasy. If you watch the show, Ian, who is Joe Budden's business partner, manager, something like that. Anyway, they were talking greasy, and Joe Budden has since apologized for things that he said on the show. He said that seeing all of this feedback and all of this, I do need to apologize to Rory as well. Maybe Rory and Mal too, but definitely Rory. He said on the newest episode of the podcast. And so there was a response. I didn't think that they were going to say anything for quite some time, talking about Rory and Mal. So if you have watched the show, now some people don't watch the show, some people watch the show. I do watch the show, and I've been a fan of Joe Budden since since his rap career. I remember him coming to Baltimore. I've talked about this a couple times. I remember coming to Baltimore, Def Jam. He had a bus and all that kind of thing, and so he's been doing this for a while. So there's been this back and forth whether or not Joe Budden's career has made the podcast successful. And so that was something that Joe Budden said. Look, he was Joe Budden, and because he was or is who he is, that's what it's all about, and it's his YouTube channel. And Rory and Mal wanted ownership or partnership or wanted some percentage numbers, wanted accounting, wanted to know, they're playing with words. They basically want to know, what are the numbers like, and are we getting paid what we're supposed to be getting paid? So they wanted to know, Rory especially wanted to know, based on the streams, based on the numbers, this arrangement that we've worked out, this arrangement that we've agreed on, are we getting what we're supposed to be getting? That's what it all came down to. Joe Budden is offended by them even asking this. Joe Budden is offended that they asked this question. So he's in his feelings about it. He's in his feelings, and they're in their feelings because he's mad that they're even asking the question. So he's being vague with his responses, and that's what's causing a lot of the confusion between the camps. Should you be able to ask this question? Yeah, they should be able to ask the question, but it's almost like asking a lady for a blood test for the child, right? Yeah, you can ask her, and yeah, you should ask her, but she is going to feel a certain kind of way about it most of the time, not all the time. Anyway, so that I think is really the cause of it. And when you have a show that is named after one of the members, and whether it's the founding member, some of the co-stars tend to get in their feelings. Some of the co-stars tend to get in their feelings. I've seen it happen to many a show, but you have these kind of shows all the time because you have somebody who has a higher marquee value name, and you build the show around them. In this instance, he built the show, Joe Budden, and he's had a ever evolving cast of characters around him, and I think that's what fans of the show like. I think fans of the show like that. Joe Budden also claimed that he wants the aforementioned clip where he was firing them to be edited out of the episode. So he took it off, I think off of his YouTube page and put it to his Patreon page, where it is something that people can subscribe to see. But people that want to see it or hear it have heard it. But Joe Budden said that ever since that last pod, I've just been having like pictures in my head of every moment that me and the guys ever had together. This is Joe Budden talking in retrospect. When I say I didn't ask you to do nothing for me, because I don't ask y'all to do nothing for me, but that's a man thing to me. You just don't ask men to do much stuff. But when I said I didn't ask you to do something, it don't mean I'm not appreciative. It don't mean I'm not grateful. It means I just never asked. So a lot of energy here, a lot of things going on, and Joe Budden has a bigger platform, obviously, than the guys. I was expecting the guys to respond in some way. Being fired on the show is, it's embarrassing, and I don't know if Joe Budden got the best end of this from the standpoint of people looking at him like, that's how you treat your friends, right? And then, I think that it could have been done in a more private manner. You wouldn't have got the viral nature of it had he done it in a private manner. But I don't think he was going for the viral moment. I think he was in his feelings. Joe is emotional from what we can see. And so he was mad, and they're mad, and everybody's mad. And when you have that kind of energy, so the energy has been off. And sometimes the energy is off on their show. Sometimes it's a good show. Sometimes it's not. But did Joe come off like an egomaniac? You can make an argument for both points. The fact that he has, over the last several years, had multiple co-hosts. There's a reason why, but you got to look at it and say, wow, this is, this is not necessarily a stable situation, but they've been stable for many years. I mean, you have TV shows that don't have the run that they had. So, you can't say too much negative about it. Shows go and they go and they run their course. TV shows. And so every show is not going to stay together forever. I'm sure that the Breakfast Club has had issues, but they've been able to stay together throughout them. But they were all put together at the same time. This is Joe Budden's show. So at the end of the day, because it's Joe Budden's show, it's going to go the way he wants it to go. And so anyway, today, Mal and Rory host a response show, and is behind a paywall. You had to pay $2 to see it, and that's fine. I think that's cool. Premium content, and this is something that is on the minds of the hip hop universe anyway at the moment. So they're checking for this, and that's all good. So they put it behind this paywall. You pay $2, and you get to see the video. I took time to watch and listen to it, and one thing that I noticed is that there's great chemistry between the two of them. Obviously, when we knew that, but Joe Budden's kind of in the middle of it, and both guys don't get to talk as much on Joe's podcast as much, obviously, as they did during their response show. So I did like the energy. I thought it was good. I think they have something to work with there. I think that they can move on past Joe Budden and do their thing if they so choose. Joe kind of left it out there that maybe, there's room for reconciliation. Like he kind of, I don't think that they're going to reconcile, but I'm just saying he kind of had some undertones like that. I think that these guys are going to go off and do their own thing. I think that they voice, and I don't think this needs to drag on too much longer. They said what they had to say. He said what he had to say. Do we have any different impression of Joe Budden than we did before? I mean, no. Many people thought that he was an ass before, and they probably still think that now. But he's in business, and he's in business, and that's what you do. When you're doing business, you do business, and the volatile nature of things. I thought at some point they was gonna get into a fight at some point. So they just need to kind of do their own thing, and he needs to do his own thing. And whether it's more of an input from Parks or Ian or the other guys that he had in their absence, somebody. DJ Cool Roy said, "Ain't nobody checking for Roy and Mal." I mean, okay, yes, we don't know them. If it wasn't for Joe Budden, we would not know them. Yeah, that is true. Okay, is it going to be the same level of exposure as they would get with Joe Budden? No, but I mean, they can't go back to Joe Budden podcast and still keep their reputation intact. And if academics has anything to do with it, they have no reputation. Yeah, I mean, of course, they're not as popular as Joe Budden, but I mean, what are they gonna do? So they should try to do their own thing, right? I mean, Rod, and second time, yeah. I mean, this is the second time that it's happened, but this one was worse. This one was worse. To me, surprisingly, the duo was entertaining. I thought they were entertaining. I really would need to see them discuss other topics. Of course, they're discussing something that they're passionate about, something that just happened, and a beef between themselves and Joe Budden. So that was entertaining, at least because we wanted to hear what he had to say and what Mal had to say. But I don't think that there's ever going to be a recovery from the standpoint of them having a show together. If so, then I mean, you can just say anything, just anything. I mean, there was a lot. Joe Budden saying that Mal lived with him, and Mal taking offense to that, obviously, and Roy taking offense to being called, I guess, not being valued. I think that business, as I said, will go on. Joe Budden and his podcast network is going to prosper. Rory and Mal, they have a future in podcasting. Is it going to be to the degree of Joe Budden, as DJ Cool Raw pointed out? No, it's not going to be to that degree. But they got to do something. So you can check out the trailer of it, and they called it "I'll Name This Response Later," and that was obviously a shot at Joe. Longtime listeners of the show know that initially Joe Budden Podcast was called "I'll Name This Show Later." So this is their I'll Name This Response Later. Interesting. It was clever. A little bit over an hour long. So that is something that you can check out, and I think that you should check it out. If you're a fan of the show. If you're not a fan of the show, then you could care less, right? If you're not a fan of the show, you could care less. So Joe Budden, who is pretty active on Twitter, he has a lot of things to say. He even shared their video, which I thought was interesting. One Twitter user told Joe that you looking funny in the light, Joe Budden. And Joe Budden responded, make it brighter. Right. But there is a lot of energy out there. There's a lot of energy out there. And what comes next for the Joe Budden podcast? Does he start having more guests on the show? Should that be the direction that they go? Like more guests, like rappers, entertainers, that type, more people stopping by the show. Is that the move? Should he should they go to therapy? I thought that the picture that they showed when they went to therapy was crazy. There was a attempted therapy session at one point in time. I didn't know what to make of it, and then the guys returned. So we've seen Joe Budden's firing of the duo. We've seen, or if you've had a chance to check out their response, they said the response that you pretty much would expect. And there was a lot of hurt feelings from both sides. Somebody else said that Joe Budden thought the therapist was going to save him. True colors showing. His true colors showing. Another user said that they are exposing your stuff, man. And Joe Budden said, no, you just stupid. Okay. Somebody else said that, yo, Joe Budden, tell your therapist to send me her invoice. I felt like I was at therapy too. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Somebody else said that this is probably the best episode of the podcast throughout all of this. Thank you for bringing your therapist, Joe Budden. Therapist shows me how everything better when you have money. His therapist was active, intelligent, and insightful. I didn't know that was possible. Not joking. Genuinely stunned. People embracing the therapy. And Joe Budden is somebody who's always talked about therapy, going to therapy, participating in therapy. Some people need therapy. Got people in my family that actively pursue therapy. I'm not that person. Maybe later I will be. Maybe at some point in time, but currently, right now, no, I'm not the therapy person. I'm usually able to walk through these things. These two guys think they're more important than Joe. DJ Cool Rod said that, and that may be what Joe Budden is feeling. And one thing's for sure. Let me say this, because I don't want people to feel like I'm really, my thing is that sometimes things don't work out. And yes, they have an inflated sense of importance. They think that we did this. Mal pointed out that in different towns that they went to, that Joe Budden wasn't selling it out with his music. So if they're selling out now, then it's got to be us that are doing this. And I would point out to Mal that the size of the venues that they did their podcast in versus the size of the venues that Joe was doing his performances at were probably different. Different. It's a whole different thing. But let me say this. I mean, yeah, they're definitely not more important than Joe Budden, because the show is going to go on without them. The show is going to go on without them. I just hate people putting all the dirt. You gotta put all the dirty laundry out there. like, and I think that they threw some warning shots out there. Like, oh, you really want us to go in? We can really go in. We can talk about stuff that you hide. And like there was a lot of references. Sean Payne says just tough to watch either way. It was definitely tough to watch. I felt like we were sitting in on an argument between some friends, and we're at somebody's house, and it's about to get crazy. Nobody really knows how crazy things are gonna get between the friends, and you hate to see, that's your man. Like, what are you doing? That's your homie, man. Like, you know what I mean? There was a lot of talk about Roy supposedly challenging Joe Budden to a fight, and Roy kind of, says that it wasn't serious and you started it, kind of thing. And Joe Budden, how many places can you work, and you're going to just offer a fight to your boss. They look at themselves as partners, Rory and Mal. Joe Budden says that you guys work here, and I think that is the source of the issue. They said that is the source of the issue. Okay, so Feast says I got something wrong. That's false. They said they know how much Budden is worth to the pod, but it's the percentage base. They know that. And see, that is the source of the problem, right? So they said two things, and both things can't be true at the same time. They said that they know how much he's worth, right? Then on the other hand, Mal pointed out that you wasn't selling out shows, and you didn't have the crowd wrapped around the building. We did, right? So if they're saying, if you're saying that, which they did say they know what he's worth, but on one hand they say that, but on the other hand, they're acting different. And then Mal really, you saw this on that last episode that they did together. Mal really was in his feelings because Joe Budden wanted to do a show, wanted to continue the show, and had some other guys filling in. This is not the attitude of people that know how much Budden is worth, because it wouldn't have been no attitude. They think that there's no show without them. They think it's no show without them, and there is a show without them. And because they were around Joe Budden, they can do a show themselves. I think that they proved that. Mal was just explaining how much him and Roy are worth, and they're worth a lot. Okay. Now I think that is true. Now I think that what it is becomes how much are they worth? Them leaving the show, the Joe Budden podcast, is not going to end the show. So they may be worth a lot, but they're not worth more than the show, right? We did as in all together, all four of them. Okay, and what else? Because Joe lied. Did you listen carefully, brother? Okay, what did Joe lie about? That everything is perspective. So I don't know what Joe lied about. Okay. What do you say? Not trying to sound condescending, by the way. No. I'm not taking it as condescending. I'm reading some of the comments from Feast of Stoic. Okay, so what did Joe Budden lie about? Because I don't understand that. If Mal came in the first, or Roy rather came in within the first 5 or 6 episodes, and Mal came later, the show already existed. It was moving on, and yes, it was a work in progress. They got it together, and they've been getting different checks. Different businesses been made, and this happens frequently. Sometimes people forget how things come about. Sometimes, because whoever is the head guy or the head girl doesn't bash it down their throat, I'm the boss. Sometimes people feel like they're all on equal footing. And that's not the case. They're not on equal footing. It's like the Steve Harvey morning show or what any other show, one of those shows that are built around a comedian. They have a whole cast, a Ricky Smiley show. You know what I mean? Jamie Foxx had one, and you have a whole cast of characters, but it's named after the most popular person, right? This is very similar to that. It's like a hip hop version of that, a podcast version of that. None of those guys. It's not even Joe Budden and Friends. It's Joe Budden Podcast. So he's the most important person. So it's whatever he says at the end of the day, and whether he does some grimy things to his friends, that could be debated. But it's still his platform to do it. Cool Rod said that Rory and Mal didn't bring anything to the table. Mal is supposed to be tied to Jay-Z, and Rory is a concert promoter. Loose ends. Now, let me say this about Cool Rod. Cool Rod is not feeling Roy and Mal at all. He's supposed to be tied to Jay-Z. I like the energy. What I really liked about the show, the most recent version of the show, because we don't know what's going to happen in the programs to come. But what I liked is it felt like homeboys just talking, and guys love those kind of conversations where you just at your homie's house or they at your house and y'all watching the game or y'all listening to some music or y'all playing video games or whatever y'all eating, whatever you doing, you get ready to go to the club, whatever. And y'all just having those conversations about music, about your relationships, about whatever's happening in the world. Those conversations, almost like barbershop talk. It's almost like that. I enjoyed that conversation. I enjoyed that camaraderie that they had, and we were able to witness that. And it just so happened that the friendship imploded, and we ain't gonna get to see that no more. Not for them. According to Mal, Joe lied about them going their separate ways, going to their corners. Yeah. Feast is saying that, and yes, everybody's interpretation of it is kind of different. It is kind of different. And so what is he saying? He's saying, I think that people are missing the point. Rory and Mal never said anything about ownership. If you're making percentage based, I'm sure gets the most out of it. But that's what it is. It's a partnership. So it's a partnership based on who? So you can feel like you should be a partner. All right. Let's look at DMX and the Rough Riders. Okay. DMX felt like he should be a partner in Rough Riders. And he was the marquee artist. He was the biggest artist that they had. He was there from the beginning. DMX claimed that DNY said that he was supposed to be a partner in Rough Riders. And they got some big checks. And when it came down to it, they did not make him a partner. He was mad. He felt that he should have been a partner, right? And he made the case for partnership, just like Rory and Mal are making the case for partnership. However, DNY own Rough Riders, right? It's their thing. They'll decide if he's the partner. They said he wasn't. He went on to start Bloodline Records. I personally wish that they had made him a partner. I think it possibly could have extended Rough Riders' run, or maybe it could have ended it even faster. I don't know. I wish that they could have made it work. It didn't. But like I said, DMX was DNY wrong? No. It's what they wanted to do, and it was their thing. And so what his contribution, DMX contribution did not make him a partner. And do you think that DMX contributed more to Rough Riders than Mal and Roy contributed to the Joe Budden podcast? Yes, DMX contributed more, and he still wasn't a partner. You can't make yourself a partner by what you do. It's in the structure of the foundation, and the foundation was Joe Budden. The foundation was Joe Budden. You know what I'm saying? Now, DMX contribution. DMX, Roy and Mal. I don't even know. It's not even equatable. But I'm just trying to say from the standpoint of the partnership. So at any point in time, we could do LL Cool J in Def Jam. You know what I mean? LL felt a certain kind of way that he wasn't in that position that they put Jay-Z in. He was there from day one, or at least day two, LL Cool J. You know what I'm saying? But my man Cool Rod says that Roy and Mal were boring. They didn't open up about themselves and trying to be politically correct with answers. Okay. I don't think that DJ Cool Rod, I don't think they were trying to be entertaining per se. And you're right. And we're not going to be able to see how entertaining they can be until we see them talk about other things, right? They're only talking about this blow up with Joe Budden. And you're right. They were not revealing. They were very politically correct. And like I said, they threw some warning shots out there. To Joe Budden. And I think that it's over. Feast said, good point. I see what you're saying. Oh, definitely. Thank you, my brother. I think that we've pretty much seen what we're going to see. Maybe some little things here and there. and maybe some little things here and there. But for the most part, I think that they're done with that. Do you want to see this trio back together, not including Parks and that, right? Do you want to see this trio back together? I say no. I say no, because there's some things that you can't come back from. And if they do come back from it, then I think we're going to look at everybody different. What's really going on with these guys? I think that it's over, and it should be over. End of an era. Yes. Enjoyed the show. Yes. Everybody needs to move on to different things. And Rory and Mal are definitely not. They don't have the personality of Joe, but Joe, like anybody, Joe needs somebody to bounce, conversation off of, and they do too. Whether they need another personality to come in, a bigger personality is possible, but I think they should just stay with them. You say no, okay? He says no. He says it won't happen, and I agree. It will not happen. It shouldn't happen. That's for damn sure. It should not happen, man. But it was a hell of a run. It was a hell of a run. We got some music to review later on tonight. We're gonna review some music. We have some songs to get into. A lot of things coming out in the foreseeable future. Summertime is coming, so we got new music coming out, and we definitely have music that dropped on Friday. So a little bit later tonight, we are going to review some of these tunes. Let me know what songs you want to review, but I have some things. 21 Savage, Migos, Nicki Minaj, Drake, Wayne. It's a lot of things. Kodak Black that we want to get into, and we're going to do that a little bit later. Let's do this. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to be back to getting some of these music things.